I'm Adam Cheyne, Executive Officer of Parks and Leisure Australia, Queensland. We're a very unique organisation in which we're a member-based but also an advocacy-based for the industry, where we support the parks, leisure, sport, open space sector, trying to look for change for the people behind the places, making sure that we've got vibrant, happy and healthy places, and supporting local governments in achieving their visions and dreams. And a bit like this town centre here, making sure it's fit for a future generation. We have a lot of old, tired green spaces, but we know the importance of health and community, and we're very proud to play a role in supporting local government, our stakeholders, our businesses achieve what they want to in the sector to make sure we have more people outdoors. So Parks and Leisure Australia Queensland is an industry group. We have representatives that form a council and myself as an executive officer. We also have a young members network called Generate. We're very excited to partner with our local governments, our people behind the places, but also general industry. We want to be more than just parks and green space and turf and soil, which may be the assumption that many of you may have had, but those playgrounds, the placemaking, the vibrancy, providing that strategic input to our landscape architects, to our engineers, upskilling our council staff in open space and sport and rec, that they can actually make change and they can be part of the bigger decisions which lead to the built infrastructure being formed. And I think that's very important, that us as an industry, we've done so much planning and so much advocacy where we've either been at the start of the process or at the very end. And I think what the design series has done very well is introduced us to those stakeholders of vast groups of engineers and architects and landscape architects and creatives to help us put those little bits in the middle and join us all together. Because without that, we're just going to start building the same things. We're going to have the typical places and we want to innovate. We're very keen and supportive of using place and open space for mental health benefit. And that's a zero cost element, that you can enjoy any green open space, ocean, beachside, whatever it may be, but that connectionness to nature and the people around that you may come incidentally is very important to us. So we can have the grand scales that we have here that put these beautiful parks in terms of a byproduct, but also we have these beautiful natural parks across the Sunshine Coast where we connect with our communities. Furthermore to that, we also like to make sure that we're advocating politically as well. So not knowing what's happening in the park sector, there isn't really a parks minister or there isn't really a group that's just aligned to the parks and leisure. They're all crossed over between environment, sport and recreation events. So we have a very important voice to our members to make sure that we can continue to advocate and the core deliverables that we want to achieve as people behind the places, that we're changing the world as well. We're reinvigorating it, we're rejuvenating it, and it's places that are fit for future generations, not just for today. We also have a students network through Generate, and that's kind of the 5-year out of university or 5-year out of your profession up to. So we kind of get that next generation of our young professional into the sector. Generate's been going around for about 1 or 2 years now. It's partnered with our colleagues over in New Zealand, and it's about advocating and supporting people transitioning out of university or out of their technical discipline to actually get engaged with the sector. We've been an industry that's kind of top heavy in terms of kind of the age and demographic, so it was a conscious effort by the National Board to make sure that we have the next generation of parks, leisure and open space professionals doing a lot of leadership activities through their walks of life. A lot of the activities they do the fun stuff, so they do the social, the networking, the professional development, and they're the ones that kind of keep us honest as the people that have been in the profession a bit longer, to make sure that we're thinking about how important it is for the Generation Zs and Ys to make sure that they actually are part of the decision-making process and not just being taken along for the ride, because their innovation and ideas are phenomenal in how they take a step forward in our industry. When Sun Central reached out to us to be part of the design series, it was kind of one thing that we had to jump at, and I think that's been a bit lost in our sector, particularly on the Sunshine Coast. We've kind of got into silos, I've noticed. I'm town planner, as a background, so been more involved with the Planning Institute of Australia. But when you have names like Planning Institute of Australia, Architects Association, the Landscape Architects, Engineers, the Creative Alliance, it basically just makes us feel like we can actually start the dialogue and actually look at what the vision of Sunshine Coast is going to be for the future. And starting here in the Maroochydore City Centre project, we've kind of got this petri dish of opportunity. The first activity we did was at the Met, and seeing that placemaking and that vibrancy and that informal nature of people connecting socially but with a professional lens basically planted the seed as to where this partnership can go with the design series, not just for 12 months but for the next 10 years hopefully. Being on the Sunshine Coast, I've seen the Met in all its glory, and particularly I like how it's enabled kind of children to actually get a bit creative out there with their design thinking, as I call it, whether it's building a Lego city or whether it's wildlings coming down, learning them how to connect with nature. I think without projects like this massive revitalisation project, we would never be able to have these opportunities. And it's just going back to an earlier point is we need to actually make sure that we enable our spaces to be friendly, that you feel welcome to try new things, and I think that's what the Met does. Our first thing was the launch of the design book by Sunshine Coast, and that was the first time our industry as Parks and Leisure Australia is connected formally on the Sunshine Coast. We're a very lean organisation. We don't have those regional sub-branches like the other groups, and I'm fortunate to live up this way, but that was the first time we've met people in our sector that actually asked what we did, and the penny dropped that basically we can work together, or you can enable us to get access to exciting initiatives or funding or support. And I think that's one of the great things of the design series. So the first places people went to were parks, and then it was the shopping centres. So we've always kind of been now that first go-to, because basically people want to connect with nature and be outdoors, and it's the best way to have physical distancing in a socially distant world now. This is almost the epicentre of where kind of built form and commercial and public space can come to fruition. And we just look behind us, we have these great landscape architectural designed spaces where you can sit, you can skate, and you can just have your lunch. And without the vibrancy and investment that is put in for these large-scale projects, we're very aware that these don't happen. So we're very grateful and supportive in terms of what a precinct like this is going to bring to the community on the Sunshine Coast, but also lead our sector to actually go, this is almost the benchmark of what can do when you do a project in your own environments. So what I love about sitting here at the Maroochydore City Centre project is that this isn't just a place where people are going to live and work. This is where the arts are going to come out. This is where the creativity is going to be brought to life. We're not going to see these, I would say, typical facades. We're not going to just see the typical landscaping. We're at a cutting-edge revitalisation project here, which is heavily invested for a community of the future. And I think that's important because a lot of people are finding their way through their existing communities at the moment, but we're also seeing a lot of people wanting to come to the Sunshine Coast. I myself are from Melbourne and chose to live on the Sunshine Coast, and I know a lot of people are choosing to make that decision as their work and life balance is changing significantly. And I think once they know that we've got major revitalisation projects here on the coast, this isn't just going to be about density, it's going to be about open space, we're going to have waterways, and those little elements that I think create people to look at a space differently, and not just as a destination, but for an area to stay, is where it's going to be the point of difference. And I think we've just got in that habit of driving everywhere, doing our task or doing our job and then going home. I feel that this is going to be a place where we can experience culture. We're going to have great cafes and restaurants and food hopefully come on board here. We're going to have local musicians, artists, creatives, hopefully some funky street art, but it will be amazing to see what this place can bring, particularly for the kind of, I'll say, the open space and park sector for our walk of life. So it's going to be phenomenal in the future here. I like to see how we can use space and projects to be more than just what it is within the typical four walls or the circle on a map. I think learning in particularly environmental credentials and sustainability and innovating with our resilience and adaptation is going to be very important. We live in a political world at the moment that we just need to make sure that we hear from these experts that are basically going to change our built form. get passive airflow through, make connected spaces that you feel like you can walk, and hearing from those people that have actually done it overseas and abroad, hearing about people with the cycle communities, particularly in Amsterdam and Europe, I think it's phenomenal, because I think us as a community, we need to start shaping our minds differently. I think it takes leadership from us as people as part of the design series to promote that, but it's also our internal advocacy to make sure that government is aware that this is why we're promoting these decisions, because it has more of a benefit for the long run in terms of improving health and social well-being. So hearing from those experts of what's been done in the past, and particularly in such a constrained environment or a township, this is the perfect place, because it is bordered by a dotted line, and it's an infill development that I think we can look at this in terms of almost a new model of a European city potentially, and learn what's happening over there. And I think if we don't listen and seek abroad and hear from speakers that have done well, we're just going to get caught in our own thought patterns and ideas, and we just need to make sure we stay open-minded and enjoy what's already been done out there. So that's something that we're really keen to hear about, and know a lot of our members like hearing from international speakers, and particularly ones that people have done it cheaply, or affordably I should say is the word, because a lot of our change in our sector is the value add, or it's thought of at the end, because it isn't the investment driven element. We may not have the answer today. It's a very different and strange world that we're living in, but we live in a mindset, or I do personally, of we have such a great community, and we have such great partners and such great people and professionals that want to do the right thing, and they want change for their kids, their parents and their friends, and they're the small things that we really, I self personally really hold on to, because for the future, if we can design better places for people and better places for us to enjoy nature, that's a key success. So I have a simple lens in terms of that, but importantly, making sure we stay connected to this beautiful environment here on the Sunshine Coast. We have diversity of wetlands, native fauna and flora, the ocean, and that connectedness that we as an industry have to ensure that we retain that identity and don't lose that. People literally come from overseas and interstate just to be part of it, whether it be for a week's holiday or to move up here permanently. So they're the kind of reflections that I have, and really excited about what we can shape design series and design thinking on the Sunshine Coast.